Working on it right now.
When my son heard a loud knocking and saw the engine light flashing, he called Endurance. They had it towed to the repair shop and covered his rental car. Endurance paid over $7,600 directly to the mechanic, and the car is running great. I highly recommend protecting yourself with an Endurance Vehicle Protection Plan. They saved me over $7,600. That's a lot of money.
Hey, folks, Matt McCoy here to talk about the AARP auto insurance program from the Hartford and why people love it so much. This is a good movie. Looks like it got a 94% thumbs up. Now, that's pretty high. Even that's less than the 96% of customers 50 and over who recommend the Hartford. In fact, 4 out of 5 AARP members who switched to the Hartford from companies like Allstate, State Farm, and Geico got a lower rate. And many of them saved hundreds on their auto insurance. Not an AARP member? Hey, not to worry. The Hartford can help you join in minutes.
To start saving on your insurance today, get your free quote by calling the Hartford at 1-800-683-8013 or visit trusthartford.com.
I hear this place is great. 90% of diners recommend it. That doesn't beat the 96% of customers who recommend the Hartford. You just can't beat benefits like disappearing deductible. Plus,
I'm going to clear the requests from everyone until we get to Q&A. Okay? So no offense. We will start in a couple of minutes, in 4 minutes. So everyone put down your hands for now. Start shortly. Let's say top of the hour, 4 minutes, okay? Look at that. Everyone put down their hands. Right. Okay, we're going to make a stage chat now so that you can put any queries and questions there. As I said, we'll start in about 3 minutes. Everyone's just getting everything together. You know, it's quite a complex thing that we've been doing recently, and launches are always fun. So we're nearly there, everyone. So please look at the Discord for the stage chat. Just under starboard. Oh, now it's above starboard. It's right at the top, just under info. Right here. There we go. Hello, everybody. Ooh, and the chat goes well. Okay.
There's a little bit of chat going on. All right. Looks like a stock ticker.
Yeah.
Ticker tape
Cool.
parade down there.
Apparently several people are typing. All right. Got 2 more minutes before we start. Okay, 1 more minute and then we'll kick off.
Yeah, you were. Ange did. I didn't take pictures. I took a picture.
Eight p.m. Here we go. Hey everyone, welcome from London. This is Emad. I'm the founder, CEO of Stability.ai. Some of you know me, most of you don't. We've been quietly and diligently working away to try and make it so everyone's just a little bit more creative. I hope that what we're doing today is the start of something that will make the world a happier, more creative, communicative, and probably weirder place. Because this type of technology that we're bringing to everyone really should be out there. Because I think everyone wants to create and not consume, and it's really difficult to do that when you don't have necessarily the skills, the time, life is hectic, etc. I think many of you have seen the evolution of this technology over the last year through amazing developers like our lead generative media developer, Catherine Krausen, the kind of RU DALI team who have joined us, and you see that in things like Looking Glass and others. The amazing Disco Diffusion team, who are now kind of some of them with us, Majesty Diffusion and others. These collab notebooks that have gone around in this kind of underground movement almost, that has led to increasingly amazing art, from the VQ-GAN to kind of the diffusion type things. I really hope that kind of this kind of goes further, because I think these technologies and tools are now at the point where they're fast enough, good enough, and you'll soon see cheap enough that again, anyone anywhere in the world can actually experience it. We're putting what you're going to be using in hopefully the next few minutes. The final checks are being put on the bot, making sure that it's all ready to go. I'll come to that in a second. That will be also used by refugees in refugee camps, where we have our education tablets, where we've got more information coming soon. It'll be used by people from Kazakhstan to India, where we've got our partnerships to represent local cultures, as well as, some more famous brands where there'll be customized versions of this. I think everyone, again, just wants to be able to use it, and we hope that by going the open source route, it won't just be that you have to use and understand what a certain entity or group of individuals want you to, but you can use this as the building blocks for your own experiences, your own extensions, and just a wave of creativity that lets us unify as a global community. And I think that's really special, because I don't think we've ever seen anything like this before. So I'd like to thank all of you for kind of coming in and kind of joining the beta. We will expand it as fast as possible. We're not kind of waiting around here. We will release the model as soon as possible as well. It's been a very complicated process, and kind of we'll give some more background soon. I know, again, we're not very well known, and that's deliberately so, because we've just been diligently building. I'd like to just introduce Bill, who's kind of joining me on the stage. Bill, would you like to introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, hi. Thank you, and thanks for all the things you just said, because I think the philosophy, the guiding philosophy that we've all shared, I think is really strong and really, I think, a positive message, and I think we all share it. Yeah, so my name's William Cusick. I go by Bill. I've been working with Stable Diffusion for a month now, and it is really the most pliable, creative tool I have ever used. I'm a experienced filmmaker and animator, editor, and I've been working with AI generative tools now for about a year. And I have to say, Stable Diffusion is unlike the other tools. It's not a replacement, I should say. It's an additional, right? There's another option now. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to work with it, how to think about working with it, and I really want to encourage folks, when you start to experiment, to really look at how this can be used as a creative tool, as an expressive tool, and also for those of you in the Discord here who are designers, how this might work as a design tool, and how this might work as a storytelling tool. I think there's a lot of potential, and we're working on ways of evolving these tools to serve creative storytellers of all kinds. So
I think everyone is creative, right? I think this is part of the thing. These new technologies blur the lines between humans and computers. Before I kind of get on that, I know you're all kind of eager and excited for when the bot arrives. It's kind of stage one of this beta before we get on to other things such as the website with in-painting and a whole host of other features, some of which we might tease today. Effectively, the kind of the status is right now is that it's being introduced into the channels. The final checks are literally being done by the team. And then, as I mentioned in announcements, please do read the announcement and read it thoroughly, especially because, like I said, I don't want anyone here to make any prompts or outputs that would make their mum sad. Please don't do that. We're our community here. And then the early adopters will get the initials. So this is the people that were in the Discord originally, and that will allow us to test. You'll be able to do one prompt a minute initially. Eventually, we will get rid of that restriction completely, probably, hopefully, within a day or so, and you'll be able to create as many as you want. You can create different images and batches of images. You can adjust them different resolutions. You can do things like seeding, which Bill will discuss. And again, we're trying to give more and more tools, and you'll see the bot evolve, which will give you more and more ability to kind of express yourself. However, I think that, these models, a lot of people view them as one-shot kind of models, when in fact they're just one part of the processes that will be built. Because what we're really doing is expecting a computer to take a bunch of pixels, throw it at the screen, and it sticks. And it's amazing and quite frankly miraculous that this happens at all. I think that as the kind of time progresses and as the ecosystem builds, we will use it in various ways to communicate and be creative. So I think there's this concept of creatives. Everyone is creative. It's just that some people don't know how to communicate themselves. So, we've all kind of faced that difficulty. And again, I think this can really break down the barriers to that. I'm going to answer some kind of questions that I've seen frequently asked around this. The model will be released with the code as MIT. The weights will be released under the Apache license. Both of these are permissive, commercially oriented, available licenses, so you can basically do what you want. The Apache license means that you should probably say thank you. Just give some attribution to the developers that have done a lot of hard work around this. The data set that was used to train this particular model was Lion 5B. That's a community that we support, and we will continue to support and accelerate. We are behind many of these open source communities, and we're going to grow them even bigger. And that's 5.6 billion images, 250 terabytes of data that we've collated to try and address that data gap there. So there's some amazing images in there, some not so amazing images. It is humanity, but we figured out how to create custom data sets from that. In fact, the first instances of Stable Diffusion, the initial alpha testers rated image outputs from this, and it created what's known as an aesthetic data set, a data set of images that resonated. And that was used to filter down the 5 billion to 600 million images that led to the model that you see today. And I think this concept of resonance is interesting because I know some of you on this call will be technical, some of you on this call will not be technical. Everyone wants to understand what is going on under the hood. And so I thought I'd take a few minutes, if that's okay, to discuss that. Classical artificial intelligence took loads of data and then it tried to figure out who you were and what you wanted so it could capture your attention and serve you ads. This was the business model of Web 2 and all the big tech majors. And, I think I was having a discussion with someone on the Discord today who was asked if this would be free. If it's free, it means that you are the product effectively. And that's the generation that we've come from. And we've all experienced it and seen the effects of these big tech companies. So, for example, Facebook had an experiment about 8 years ago, where they said, I wonder if we take 600,000 of our users and we show half of them sadder things, because they track everything you post and your friends post, even the things you don't actually hit return on, will it make them post sadder things? So if you see the sadder things, will you post sadder things? And so they did that for 300,000 people. They deliberately made them sadder. And then saw if they post sadder things so they could serve them ads to make them happier, or at least serve that gap in their souls effectively. Big tech companies don't mean to do that. It's just the way that they're oriented because they're trying to capture your attention. And emotions and anger and outrage and other deep ones are the ways that they kind of do that. So that was the classical artificial intelligence. It was extending all this data to figure out who you are. What Stable Diffusion is, and some of you may have seen DALL-E 2 and others, is a new type of model. This type of model thinks more like a human brain. So like right now you're listening to my voice, and I hope it's not too boring. My apologies if it is. I'll try not to kind of do this more. But again, you're the first wave that will really experience this at scale, which is attention. So maybe you're paying attention to when I'm speaking, maybe you're not. You'll be paying attention to these images. What happens is that you take 250,000 gigabytes of images and you compress it down to X gigabytes. We'll share the details soon, but it's surprisingly small. What you do in that process is you pay attention to the images and the labels and what connects them. So as you type in Boris Johnson as Ant-Man, or as you type in A Beautiful Day on Mars by Monet, it understands what each of these words are with relation to the pixels that are there, and it compresses it into what's known as a neural network. The layers that it compresses, you may have seen us mention this, are called latent spaces. So it's almost like the hidden layers of connectivity between things. And that's why you will have seen on the Stable Diffusion tag, many of these images resonate, and we hope that you create images that resonate even more with people, because that is how you communicate. This is, again, something I think quite profound, and it extends our ability to communicate as a species, but also it's a lot of fun. because you may have seen some of the previous image models weren't quite there because they were kind of a bit stilted. I mean, in fact, when I look at DALL-E 2 prompts, I kind of view it as the McDonald's of image generation. It's very nice and it's very structured, but it kind of feels like, stock image photos slash amazing portraits. Like their face model is absolutely fantastic close up. Also, it seems like a master chalk artist has been the one kind of doing this, which I think is deliberate so that they can tell what's a DALL-E image or not, because they're a bit scared, because this technology is powerful. Our viewpoint is that this technology should be available for all, and the benefits far outweigh the potential harms, especially because the community can work out situations and solutions to the bad actors that might come along to use it. So we trust you all, and again, I hope that you all repay our trust rather than being paternalistic and believing that we know better. So that's kind of an overview of the technology where it is. The model will come out. It will be available in all your favorite services because we are doing a permissive license. From Midjourney to Night Cafe to Wombo, we've had wonderful conversations with all of them and supported as we can, and there'll be new ones. And maybe some of you here will create new experiences and things that can reach millions, if not hundreds of millions of people. So I think kind of with that, I'd like to hand over to Bill, who will explain, unfortunately, we can't do video here, how it kind of works and talk about some of the features so you can understand them better as they hit. There will be written guides and videos associated with this as well. Bill, over to you.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, the way this works is at its core text to image, right? So I'm going to not presume that everyone here has done it. I'm not going to presume anything. So starting from a really basic level, for those of you who've not used any of these tools before, there's a couple different ways to approach it. In my experience, I generally have two ways I approach it. I have no idea what I want, and other times I know exactly what I want. And when I don't know what I want, I will start with just a simple thing to get, to get the prompt going. And so you want to start when you're prompting, start with a subject. And what I've found with all these different, tools, is there is a little bit of there's chance. So part of the experience is prompting and getting back one of an infinite number of potential responses. So one of the things I've been working on putting together is a short little sequence where we see the evolution of a prompt. And starting with something as simple as clouds is where I want to start. So we made a little chat thread in the Discord. It's called Stage Presentation. And so if you go to Stage Presentation, you can watch, but you can't type, which is how I'm going to be able to show you some sort of basic examples. Now, at a very basic level, and now it's going to get to the advanced settings as well, and we'll cover that. But I want to just make sure that all, looks like 1,300 folks in here are at least clear on the basics, and then we'll get into the more advanced settings. Now, in the Stage Presentation chat, you should be able to see it. The thing I'm going to type in here is the basic, the only code snippet everybody needs to use is this prompt of !dream. So when you prompt our bot, you're going to start with !dream. Because after all, life's a dream. Thanks for all the, okay, good to see people are responding. Excellent. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to know is you use !dream. From there, let's say we start with !dream and we say clouds, right? So I say !dream and I do clouds. What I get returned is this. Now, what you're doing at a basic level is like, you're essentially sending a text message to a server and the server is sending you back. And I had a friend ask me recently, a brilliant production designer, when I was losing my mind over Stable Diffusion, he asked me, well, what is this thing? Is it a search engine? And I immediately said, no, it's a creation engine. And instead of you're not Googling for an image, you're making this thing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I had a discussion, I did a demonstration this week, and they were just thoroughly unimpressed. And it was like, why are you so unimpressed? This is like really hard work. We put in thousands of hours, and they're like, this is a really slow search engine. What's that about? Because fortunately, we've kind of hit photorealism in a lot of things. And what's about a Tesla Roadster on Mars? I mean, of course, it's just a search engine picture of that, right? But yeah, you said something.
It was hard. It was hard to explain that. It's a hard concept to wrap your head around, and it's a hard concept for folks to really appreciate. Go on.
Yeah, well, that's why I think you need to show examples of Boris Johnson as Ant-Man, right? Just go out there. That's what you do when you show people.
Yeah, so I actually had I had the chance to demo this with some friends the other day in person, and get to sort of understand how personal the experience is of what's happening here. You know, and I'm sure lots of folks here have probably had many conversations about all of this, and it's interesting because it goes from being a conversation where you're sending text messages to the bot to really where you're having a conversation with your unconscious mind. But we'll get there. So we're starting with that basic prompt, right? Of like of just dream, clouds, and then you can start to add modifiers. And I think this is what happens is I find that once I get my first response, I will start to expand it. So I could say something like peaceful clouds, right? Now, what you're doing is you're creating connections and you're starting to, evolve what is, you're actually sort of in some ways narrowing what the data set is that it's pulling from to create the image, but it's also in some ways opening up the possibilities. So if I change this to peaceful clouds, right, the change is very subtle. So we're going to get to more advanced changes as we go. But I just want to make sure everyone is clear on the really basic stuff when you're working with this.
I think the mothership bot is being pushed to the channel right now, so that's why it's taking a little bit of time. It's just on its way. Oh, there we go.
No, I'm doing it manually. So this right now, I'm showing everybody. This is a prepared sequence that is going to be animated. So I just want to show folks some basic evolution, right? Because again, there's probably a couple people here who've never done it, right?
Yeah, so the mothership pod is actually being pushed. But yeah, kind of go through this and then we'll show more live examples of this shortly. Okay.
Brilliant. All right. So now, folks, when you're prompting and you're modifying, right? There's a lot of conversations around using artist names and using things like trending on ArtStation and a lot of feelings. Like this is a huge thing, right? There's a lot of feelings, and I think I've reached the other side of my feelings in this partly through using the tool and understanding how it's operating, and understanding that using modifiers like matte painting and concept art is actually going to give me a result that is about the aesthetic of the way that the image is put together, like on a basic level. So someone asked me the other day, like, why are we dropping in trending on ArtStation? Why does that help? And in a lot of ways, it sort of adds coherence to the final image, and it will understand a sort of aesthetic data set and the output, and help in a way that it's not. I guess there's a lot of philosophical debates about it, and I just don't think it's philosophical. I think it's just purely aesthetic. So if I were to add matte painting to this prompt, right? So the look of the cloud suddenly evolves, and we start to get more references that are pulled from actual traditional matte paintings, right? So what I'm also trying to give folks are some tricks, right? Matte painting and concept art are two really great ways to modify landscapes and to modify when you're working with interiors and so on. Now, the thing that I want to get to now is sort of the next step. Now, if we want to take this and say, okay, this is cool. I like your puffy clouds, but let's actually make them widescreen. Let's make them awesome. So let's add an aspect ratio. This is something that folks who've been using, I think, Midjourney probably are familiar with. Like they have a system. We've got this thing where you can type in dash dash. It's got to make sure it's not an M dash. The iPhones like to turn their dash dash into an M dash. So make sure if you're looking at that.
We've reduced it to single dash now. Again,
Brilliant.
on the bot up to
Brilliant.
last. By the way, if
No.
everyone is just waiting for the bot to be up, we will at you as a user group when the bot is up and available. So don't worry about it. Like this call is to take you kind of through some of the factors and features, but don't feel that you have to be kind of on it if you're just waiting to use the bot. I do think it will be useful though, because it's one thing just throwing stuff at a wall; it's another thing being taken through it.
So this is the dream peaceful puffy clouds matte painting concept art, throwing in the modifier of 4K and giving it the instruction to have a width of 1280 pixels. Now the pixel width can move in steps of 32 pixels. So so I'll put this in the chat here, but so I'll say note. aspect ratio. You can adjust height as well. So it's dash height. So you can do increments of 32. So this will help folks who are trying to get widescreen, and we can go pretty extreme widescreen and pretty extreme portrait as well.
We
Now,
get to
so
2048 on those sides as well. I should also mention that we are currently training a series of upscalers, which should hopefully be state of the art. So for you guys that want to go ultra super resolution, that will be coming soon.
okay, so now here's the thing I want to make sure everybody sees. Now this is sort of the important reference here, is this concept of how it actually happens within Discord, and what you're going to see and so on. So you're going to send this message of dream the prompt, and you're going to get a mention. Now the mentions are, for those who haven't used Discord, the mentions are essentially the @ sign and your user handle, and those are going to be returned with the image every time. And if you click on that picture, that screenshot, what you're going to see is that what we give back every time, what the bot gives back every time, is the random seed, which is the seed for the initial noise for the diffusion. So, but that seed number is sent back to you. So if you love the composition, guess what? You can now lock your composition. This is beautiful. So there's a fantastic series of tweets I recommend folks check out, that Sir AI has been posting, and Tom Likes Robots have been sharing some interesting studies of how to use the seed as a tool in your work. Now, one thing to note is that when you adjust the aspect ratio, it does affect the return time. So you'll notice that like the actual execution time can sometimes take longer if you make the picture a lot bigger naturally. Okay, so aspect ratios are the first thing. We just talked about seeds, and the way you would actually lock the seed is similar to the way you lock the aspect ratio. Is you put the dash seed, and then from this, you do have to do a little bit of actual copy, but if you remember the seed number, it's just 123 123. And I'm great at passwords. But so what that does is it gives you that exact composition. And now you could tweak words within it and tweak word modifiers. And so if you want to see some of that at work, follow Sir AI, absolutely brilliant series of studies happening there. So there's a couple other modifiers we should know about. So I'm just going to put these in my chat here. So there's aspect, right? There are seeds. There are steps. There's a CFG scale. There are batches. Batches is exciting. There are errors. And like I mentioned before, there are mentions. Okay. So these are some really basic things, and they may change. We're not promising anything. So by request of our developers, we can't promise anything, but we're going to do our best to deliver as much as possible.
You can imagine that some of the elements like init images and others we will kind of phase in here. I think something that well to kind of bear in mind, this is the first of 5 models that we are training right now of different types, sizes, and quality. This is our smallest model, actually, of all of those. So we're really trying to cover the gamut, so you have all the tools that you need there. This server will have access to many of these models, as well as our audio, video, and 3D models that we'll be coming up with. Why? Because we want to have that Ready Player One holodeck experience minus the microtransactions, right? So I think that, this bot, we are not kind of competitors. This is not what we want to do. I have no idea how Midjourney did it. Fantastic congratulations to David and others. This is literally just meant to be test servers. We are deep tech guys. We are kind of prosumer, kind of UI UX guys, So please kind of bear with us as we continue to upgrade this bot because we're working as hard as we can. Okay.
Excellent. Okay, so the list here of aspect, seed, steps, CFG scale, batches, errors. Okay, so let me. I talked about aspect and seed, and obviously it's the dash before. Now, same thing with batches. Now, the thing with batches is it's actually a different a different
So with the,
modifier.
yeah,
Just found
batches
pulling up. Yep.
different modifiers. So kind of you use -n, and then you have the ability to do between 1 and 9 images in one batch with variant seeds when you're trying to identify different styles that you then want to iterate upon. Is that what you're referring to, Bill?
Yep. Yep. So what I'm putting here in the chat is for batches, you're going to use -n and then the number. So it'll be, you'll do 2, and I'll put in parentheses up to 9. So, but that's the phrase for folks to know. And then if you want your batched images to come out individually, so if you use the batches, right, it's going to batch it and give you a block of images, right? Now, what you can do is you can break them into individual returns with individual mentions for you. So to make a batch, print in individual pictures or individual images rather. You're going to use
-i.
-i, exactly. Great, and that is in the chat. Now, so just so to be clear, so when you use it without using -i, you get a grid, and when you use -i, you will get a string. So I put that into the stage presentation as well, into the chat, so folks can see that. Now errors are really important, and this is part of why everybody here is a beta tester. And if you haven't used stuff that breaks, welcome to the party. It's a great. That's the point of this. Like, we want to make it better. So read the error messages. Like, if you put in a prompt and it comes back and it says, "Sorry, mechanical reproductions, there was a problem," I have to read what the problem was, and it helps because usually it's my own fault, and it sometimes has to do with an apostrophe or quotation marks or a symbol I accidentally didn't know or a space. So read your error messages, okay? Read your error messages. We beg of you. It will help you.
Yeah, I think we also have kind of community help for a lot of these things. Again, there's a lot of subtlety here that isn't there in some of the other ones, and we're exposing a lot more stuff that goes on under the hood. So when you use DALL-E 2 and you have 4 different images or Midjourney and kind of other things, there are kind of expert features that you can dig into, but this is a lot more deterministic than others. You can actually recreate your images as if you want versus having that randomness element in there. I think this is kind of a vision of the future because sometimes you just want to be creative, right? And you love to roll the dice and it's fun. And sometimes you know exactly what you want to do. And so this is where things like the in painting that you might have seen from Gene and kind of others, I'll kind of add a link to that if you haven't seen it, really become important. So the ability to change certain parts of a picture, to describe your changes. These are all things that we have in the kind of works, but even if we don't have them, people will create them. And I think that's going to be very important there. So there is, as Bill said, this exploration phase where you're exploring and you're iterating on a theme. And there's that bit then when you find the seed that you want, like the foundation from which these images build, you start altering it and adjusting it until you get just what you want. And I think that, again, is a super powerful thing that we haven't really seen in other kind of image things. It's only possible because of the speed and lightweight nature of Stable Diffusion, because you can iterate so quickly around that. And this brings us maybe on to some of the other things. Bill, should we talk about stepping now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think talking about stepping is important for sure. So there's a couple other concepts to think about, and it has to do with the. I like to think of it in aesthetic terms, right? I like to think of it in terms of how is it going to affect the output. So when we think about how steps work and how CFG scale works, I've been experimenting with it all week and looking at how I can use it to get more effective images on one side of the scale, sometimes on the other, and how they interact. I've been finding with that when I work with steps, sometimes fewer steps are they can produce a profoundly more beautiful image, right? There was some misinformation at some point. I think someone made a YouTube video and said more steps, more detail, and something like that, and that's not necessarily true.
Yeah. If we kind of take a step back, what are steps? the way that these image generators work is, you know, in those CSI like shows where you see that enhance, enhance, enhance thing. That's what we're actually doing here. They're called diffusion models for a reason, because what they do is they kind of take, well, there's a whole much reason behind that. Basically, when you start with a seed or an initial image, and again, initial images will come soon, just like you see in other places. What you do is kind of you do that enhance process where you adjust it towards that latent space, the hidden meanings behind each of the words. And what steps are the number of steps and the number of enhancing steps you take. So if you have 100 of them, you know that you have 100 and it takes this intermediate point and adjusts and adjusts and adjusts and adjusts and adjusts. If you have 10, then you've only got 10 steps to try and get to that end point. So the calculations and the mathematics that go on are very different. As Bill said, sometimes if you have 1,000 steps, you won't get a better image than if you have 100 steps. But you do get faster if you go lower on these, and sometimes you can see this coherence, right? So think about steps as the number of checks that you have on the way to your image being great. Might need 50, and 50 is kind of a pretty standard number with some of the more advanced stepping technology that we have. But you certainly won't need 1,000. And sometimes you only need 20, right?
Exactly. And I was working with a colleague the other day and sharing tests, and actually they did some tests with lower step counts, and the return time is lightning fast. I mean, it's depending on the content, it can be really effective. So that's a great explanation. Thanks for clarifying it. And I put that into the stage presentation chat for folks with steps. So the modifier input is just dash steps, and it'll be you'll have, I believe it is 10 our minimum. That's what I think it is.
I put 5 there.
We'll say we can go as low as 5. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think 5 is the minimum, 50 is the maximum. We've introduced new stepping technology. I think we'll create an expert section with the academic papers for those of you who want to understand kind of this, whereby rather than doing classically, if you've used any of these notebooks over the last year, you use DDIM or DDPM. These are big acronyms. I'm not going to go into it. You usually need 100 to 250 steps. We've got it down to 40 to 50 now, but sometimes you can get amazing results from 25, but you can definitely get coherence from 5 to 10. Why is coherence important? It's because when you do these massive resolution images, what you'll see is that sometimes you get repeated heads, you get like repeated landscapes and things like that, because what you're actually using now is the raw bot, the raw model. When you use DALI, it filters your prompts. So if you enter sumo wrestler, it randomly adds like ethnicities and genders. So you might get a Asian, Indian female sumo wrestler. You know, that's part of the woke filter, kind of whatever. That's fine, you know. When you use something like Midjourney, it uses some of these more common models, but they've done a fantastic job in the actual guidance of it. So they use another model called a clip model to guide it, and they've had loads of optimizations to give it that really distinctive Midjourney feel as well. You can tell when an image is Midjourney, and they look, I think, really nice. This doesn't have any of that. This is raw input and output, so that's why sometimes it paints multiple things in an image. If you use on larger resolution things, because they're much slower, because it has to paint a lot more pixels, 5 or 10 steps, and you do a batch, you can see which ones are more coherent, and then you can take that seed and you can let it run for 50 steps. And then that will be far more likely to give you a great output than if you're just randomly throwing stuff at a wall. Right, Bill?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and we've got the mothership live in the stage presentation chat, so I can demonstrate exactly that with step variations, and folks can see a little bit of those adjustments. Yeah, that's great. And I agree also. I love how Midjourney looks. I'm a huge fan, obviously, if anyone has seen any of the work I've done for the past few months as well. So, okay, so I will run a quick sequence now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the seed random. So, because if you run a sequence and everything is the same, right, and there's not a random seed, you're gonna print the same image over and over, and you're just gonna waste your time. And that's not what we're here to do. So, if you want to run a batch and kind of get some ideas, let's say I want a batch of some puffy clouds, and I'm gonna leave them at. I like this phone resolution here. That's a little tall, but make it 768. And then what I'll do is I'll run a batch. I'm going to do n, and I will batch 9 images, and then I will set them to be individual, if that's okay. And let's see how that goes.
Yeah, so you can kind of see how you're concatenating these things here. As we kind of roll this out, you will have the ability, again, we can't say when, to do kind of DMs, to do threading and other things, but you should learn from how kind of some of these experts are kind of doing it, because I think, again, the community angle is very interesting for the early stages of beta. Again, this is not meant to be this particular thing, a commercial service or anything like that. We really want to learn and explore how these things work, because this model is so new and unique. So you can kind of see there as well here. He started at S7555. That's the seed number. So each seed number is a unique random pattern, as it were. And when you do the n iterations, it will basically do a certain number of random things around that. And you'll be able to see that it actually makes a list of all of the seed numbers for each of the images so you can track them. Let's see, what did you put for the steps here? Oh, this is going to take a while because you didn't do the low steps. So you did 9
I left
and
it
you
at
did.
default. Yep.
Yeah,
I should have
exactly.
dropped it to 5 steps. Yeah.
Yeah, so look, I mean, these things queue up, right? Because again, when you're doing large resolutions, it requires a lot more processing power. The default resolution of this generator is 512 by 512. We have significantly higher models coming at higher resolutions. In fact, Catherine's done progress. Oh, here we go. Kind of, we've got it coming out. You can see how it's done 9 in a row now, right? And you can see at the top there on the actual thing where they're given the seeds for each individual image. We will eventually upgrade and give you buttons so that you can pick the images out quicker and readjust them, etc. But for now, copy and paste a little bit, right? So I was kind of saying this is a 512 by 512 model. So that will be the resolution that it operates fastest at. Anything deviating from that will use more memory or less memory if you go below, and will be a little bit slower. So just kind of bear that in mind. Models of other resolutions will be coming. To put this in context, something like a Midjourney is a 256 model, that then you have the upscaler that goes up to 1024. And DALI 2 actually starts off at 64 by 64, so really tiny. And then it uses a really nice initial upscaler to take it to 256. And then I think a kind of odd, the chalky upscaler with very low steps. Again, remember that steps thing to take it to 1024. So that's you, Bill.
Yeah. This is great. Yeah. So if you look into the stage presentation, folks, you're going to see one of our brilliant developers, Chia, is in there dropping some advice as well about how we can do the grid we've been talking about, and you'll see there's as we said earlier, you can either use dash dash or just dash, but the key is to know what they are. So n is the reference to the quantity. S will be the reference to steps, but you can also just spell them out.
Yeah, also the case is important. Lowercase versus uppercase is important.
Brilliant. Yes, absolutely. So now, folks, if everyone looks in those grids, now you can see exactly as Ahmad just said, right? You see the seed numbers, right? If you look into the chat, you'll see a seed number, and the way the seed numbers go, I'm going to put this in here so that folks can see, like seed numbers are listed. It goes left to right and top to bottom. So you're going 1, 2, 3 across the top, 4, 5, 6 across the middle, 7, 8, 9 across the bottom. Oops, sorry, I'm going to fix this real quick in the chat. Let me delete this real quick.
We should do a prettier one, right? Maybe we should do, I don't know.
I've done a few. You go ahead and drop one in. Yeah, do it. Do it.
Yeah, why not? Let's do.
Yeah, it's fun.
And 6, right? One of the models that it's maybe been overtrained on, shall we say. So I think that this is the thing. You'll be using multiple kind of image things here. You'll be using these grids and then you'll be kind of honing down. Actually, I should have done low steps because you'll see if you do low steps, I don't know, my classical Robin Williams as like a mass minus. There we go. What do you all think of that? Pretty good, eh? And then
Excellent.
you can take them and you can make them bigger, or like, for example, I don't know. Everyone react with an emoji. Do you like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? Which one's your favorite? Can we do that?
Yeah.
Emoji reactions. Oh
Yeah,
man,
let's see.
everyone's
We have
so
to get the. I think it might be on a little bit of a delay. Let's see.
Is it on a delay? Right. Maybe they can only react to the actual thing. Reactions. You guys do 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 on that? No, it looks like it's on a delay there. So, all right, 1, 2, 3. Anyway, I'm gonna pick.
Here we go. Here we go. We'll get him. I'll get him. I can have people vote here.
Which one's your favorite, Bill?
Well, I think my favorite on this one is probably number 4 because her hair is epic. It's a great composition, and yeah, I like number 4. I think. Yeah.
I think number 4 is great as well, right? So what we do then is we take 1, 2, 3, 4, number
Instructions on how to
2,
use it,
3, and 6,
you can do.
and then we can go
If
to
you want them to spit them out separately, the resolution,
duh.
size, quality.
We have the same seed, but we pick someone else, right? So we go to Jennifer Lawrence.
So you see what happens there, folks? Yeah, it's amazing. Composition, the pose, and the concept, the framing, things stay the same because the seed and the adjustment of Jennifer Lawrence changes the character. It's incredible. Really fantastic, incredible power in terms of the next steps of like where we're going with this as a creative tool.
Yeah, because you need to have that kind of compositional control to be able to adjust it. And instead, we could have taken the 6th one, and again, it would kind of have interpreted it then. So we'll see it was kind of about there, similar kind of thing. Did I pick the right one? I picked the right one. Anyway, you'll kind of see variations in here. This shield is rather big. Again, future versions, you'll be able to say, I want that shield smaller, and it'll get smaller. This is also, as you see, pretty raw output. So if you want to have the highest quality compositions like the ones you see, you should really get to know the artist studies and some of the other things. Who are the best photographers, the best painters, the best styles? Because that will give you amazing outputs relative to if you just chuck in specific words here, just basic words here, right, Bill?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I think it's still experimental. We're putting together studies to find out and figuring out so on. And we welcome folks who are interested in, contributing to the community in a productive and constructive way, and who want to, be part of the, the kind of crowdsourcing that I think made all this happen to begin with. I think we're a group of crowdsourced collaborators in a lot of ways. It's fantastic. So the community is a huge, huge part of this.
Yeah. So the people saying, can we just use the bot? Look, it's difficult, right? It's difficult getting things up and running when we are not bot experts. This is not what we do. We're trying to make it available to you. The developers are working as hard as they can. What's happening right now is we're actually trying to get the last features in. This model that you see right now was completed at 1 a.m. yesterday night because we wanted to make sure the beta testers had the very latest and greatest, as it were. It still hasn't finished training. It still isn't kind of quite done yet. And so I think those of you who followed the Stable Diffusion hashtag, you've seen it consistently improving and getting better and better and better. But we didn't want to release something half-assed to you and kind of let you use it. Instead, we wanted to have something that's nearly ready and nearly done. And you can see it does a lot. This is unlike any other model that's ever been seen without the amendments. When this goes into Midjourney, you will see amazing things. When it gets used by people to do in-painting and beyond, all of the little errors that you might see here, the little edges, they won't be there anymore. Because again, this is raw, unfiltered output. And just think how amazing it is that now we can type this in and we can see it occur kind of within seconds. Oop, there is a pop-up. Yeah, we've got the Labrador in a duffel coat, right? And
yeah,
we can optimize this. So what we can do is we can go minus S10, right? So we can say, let's do 10 steps on that. And what happens when you do S10? 1 second. In 1 second, you can generate this. This isn't actually fully optimized. We can get it below that if we really wanted to. You see it hasn't got a duffel coat though. If you instead did Labrador in that and you did 20, oops, no, sorry, apologies. You did 20 seconds. Oh, look, there we go. A little Labrador in a duffel coat. Oh, look at that little duffel coat, right? Experiment and see. You can kind of see the same thing with different steps has this. And again, this is the type of thing that we want to explore and want to have. And as you can see, this is why with this Discord bot, we added extra things there for that purpose. I think, the final thing I probably mentioned is CFG scale, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll talk about that quickly. So if you want to, sorry, one thing important to mention is dream minus minus or dream help. What is it? No, it's minus minus H, sorry. Let's not do an error. Dream minus H gives you all of the different things here. So we've talked through most of these, and then there are a couple of super advanced ones. One is CFG scale, so that's classifier free guidance scale. What that means is that when you use models like Midjourney, Wombo, a bunch of others, like I said, there's two models. There's a model that generates, and there's a model that guides, known as kind of CLIP, and then diffusion models. These models, we've actually combined the two together, so that's why you get the speed advancements, and this isn't fully optimized, so we'll get even faster. What CFG scale is how like your actual image, so your actual prompt, the images. So if you go to kind of CFG scale 10 on Mr. Labrador, but now it's C. So again, this is so new that even I don't know what the latest things are. What's it now? CFG scale is it?
Oh, it's yeah, CFG underscore scale. That's what the most recent one is. I think. Oh, I think one of our architects is joining the chat. I love it.
Well, it looks like CFG scale is an unrecognized thing. Okay, double hyphen. Thanks, Tim. Like I said, live debugging. What can you have there? We have the cute Labrador in the kind of duffel coat. As you kind of increase it, again, you will get very different things. So we've got CFG scale kind of 10 for that. If we take the same seed and then we do a CFG scale of 7, and we do a CFG scale of 12, you'll see each time it's subtly different. So with this, you can do different variations. Look, it's a happy dog. Hello, happy. And
I love it.
so, that's because what it's doing is it's saying to the internals of this, guide it towards the text prompt more and more. And so 7 is the default, and we found that's correct. If you want it a bit more creative, you go down to 5. If you want it to be more exact, you go up to 12. But you can see it's a bit cooked there. So his mouth is a bit cooked, and it's a little more bright and vibrant compared to before, right? So, Shadow, it goes down to negative. So you can do negative as well. So again, look, experiment with this. This is meant to be a beta. It's meant to be experimenting. And we want to see the things in the feedback as well. Please do give as much feedback as you can about how this compares to others, what you like, what you don't like, all these kind of things you've done. The final part here is sampler. Sampler is the type of stepping that you have. So if you kind of look above, you see DDIM. That was what was in classical models before, and that was 100 to 250. Right now, I believe we're using KLMS as the kind of key thing. We will post some academic articles for those of you who want to dig into it on how these things work. But you can feel free to, again, experiment with these. But they're quite advanced. So I would leave that maybe to the power users rather than kind of stepping through. I think everyone right now is kind of eager to kind of get on with the bot. You can see the bot's being deployed to the server. We're doing some additional tests now before we open it up because we want to make sure that the architecture and everything is going on. So in the private chats right now, it is being tested. Again, for those of you who joined late, if you don't want to listen in now, you will get an app message when your kind of group is ready to go. So you don't have to stay around. But I think, Bill, is there anything else you want to say, or should I go into kind of an AMA and answer any questions that people might have?
Well, I mean, I think the last thing I would want to say to folks who are going to go off and work with this is, have fun and bring beautiful things into the world. That duffel coat made me so incredibly happy because that was a request from somebody who came into the server early, and that is Sid Deuce. Sid Deuce is the legend who brought the duffel coated Labrador into my life. I'm thrilled to bring it into your life. So, so that's what I would say. Thanks, everyone. So on to a Q&A. Now we're trying to sort out the queue list. Now, folks who have questions, now you can raise your hands. We're going to sort through and we're going to start assessing and getting folks up to the stage, and bear with us as we do that. So waiting music commences.
Bill, you want to pick people?
Yeah, I'm texting with Shadow here, so we're going to
Sorry. This is my first stage, so my apologies if I've kind of messed up. We've been heads down for quite a while now, building all of this out.
So
Anyone heard my Labrador? My Labrador has come and said hello. I think she wants a duffel coat as well. All right, I think we're nearly ready, right?
Yeah. Okay. Here. Okay. So we've got a lot of folks queued up. We got about 33. So here's what we'll do is we're going to go in the order hands were raised. So we will bring you up to the stage, and once you're up here, you can open your mic. We'll make sure you can speak. You can hear us. We can hear you. And if you don't hop up to the stage within a few seconds, we're just going to jump to the next person. So. BRBBBQ, you've got the first, you're the first to request. You got a couple of seconds before I turn off that invitation. Okay, known substance, you are next. After known substance, there's Tony and then Monkey. I think folks who have their hands raised, I think you can maybe see the queue, but if not, known substance, come on up and chat with us. And folks, and try to come up and have a question ready, or if you have a comment, just come and have it ready. And yeah. Let's see, Monkey. Casey Edwin. How about Casey? I like people who use their names. Okay, Casey, welcome. How are you?
We're on mute, Casey. Is that us? Or is that?
I think that might be Casey just getting the microphone.
Oh, hey, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you. How are you?
Oh, thank God. Okay. Well, I'm very excited to be first. Thank you guys so much for creating this platform and letting me into the beta. And I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so my question, I come from MJ. So we have the option of multi-prompts. I see that you guys are using a lot of commas. Is there going to be a multi-prompt option, and are we going to be able to weight the prompts in the multi-prompt kind of like you do in MJ, or is it just going to be, is there like an order for like what significance you want in the image for the prompts if you're breaking up your prompt, anything like that?
So I think, when it comes to these feature things, we can't commit to anything because, again, like we're not building a competitor to MJ, right? Midjourney's done fantastically ridiculous jobs getting to 1 million people. Like even 10,000 is kind of difficult for us to even imagine. They're at the start kind of helping out. Some of our developers have helped out as well, and we're really proud of you guys. I think that multi-prompting, though, is something that's capable of this model. And I think it's something that will be there. I think it's probably best in a web interface versus a Discord one. But like I said, I think the only thing that we can't really commit to any features for this Discord bot because it's not really a product, it's more a testing thing. But we wouldn't want people to test these different variations and have as much depth as possible in there for this model and the other ones that we have coming as well.
Okay, great. So just is there no order if we put up a prompt, it won't prioritize anything, everything is just equally prioritized at this point?
So the way that tokenizers work is that the stuff at the start of the prompt will actually get a bit more weight than previous. And you can also do multiple words in a prompt and it'll actually have a slightly different thing. So you can literally do Labrador, 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 Labrador. But right now, like I said, this is super raw. So there's no prompt engineering on the way in. There's no prompt engineering on the way out. There's no kind of classical cut stuff or anything like that. We are updating Disco Diffusion, Majesty Diffusion, and all the others. Again, members of the Stability team are some of the authors there, just as Midjourney has some of the authors there, to be able to have that more fine-grained control, as well as having kind of other interfaces for the more professional kind of individuals out there. Because we really want to, again, build for the community, the building blocks that people can take and extend and have that extra experience. But right now, you'll find the order does matter, due to the way the token is, but not the same as you said, the weighting, where you can go and you can weight something 0 or even negative. But obviously, as it gets released, more and more people will include that because it's really useful. Like if you do a Suka Langley, a nice Evangelion character, often she will look like the wrestler. You don't want the wrestler, you want to have the like Tsundere kind of person. Anyway, hope that answers your question.
Awesome. One quick thing and then I'll jump off. Do we need to specify symmetrical hands, symmetrical eyes, or is that going to be automatic?
So again, there's kind of no guidance here. Like literally, this is raw to the model. But because the model has certain features in it, you'll find that it's pretty coherent in general. I mean, you can see it just from that very basic prompt that we had there, right? And again, some of the outputs that people have had. So feel free to experiment, and we'd love to find out what you come up with, right? Because you can
All
control
right,
the
thank you
seed.
so much. I appreciate it.
Find that out. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Excellent. Okay. So again, if you're waiting to ask a question, actually be waiting. That'd be awesome. So next person, I'm going to bring you up. And excellent. Okay.
Hello.
You're on stage. Hey, Monkey, how are you?
Hi, I'm really looking forward to trying this out. Everything you've shown looks absolutely incredible, and I feel honoured to be one of the lucky few people to start trying it out early. So my question is I know you said you're not comparing yourself to Midjourney, but Midjourney learns as people use prompts. I'm wondering if Stable Diffusion does the same, if it learns while more and more people try out prompts, if it learns from them doing the prompts, as well as learning from images and other stuff.
So the way that this works is this is basically a compressed file from 250 terabytes down to X gigabytes. Again, we'll release the full details when the model's finalized because it's still in shift. Learning from the prompts is basically, and seeing kind of the things that we had a previous thing. If someone can post the Simulacra bot aesthetic captions in the chat, when the alpha testers were kind of testing, they rated the images originally. Like, we don't need you to rate the images. We want a more overall view on the feedback to create a massive data set of how good the images are. You see that in Midjourney as well with the happy and the sad faces, etc. What happens is that you take that data and then you adjust and fine tune the model, and then it becomes model 1.1 and 1.2 and 1.3. What we're going to be releasing is Stable Diffusion as kind of this base framework model on which people can fine tune and adjust and do other things. So part of this process that we actually had for it was taking some of those ratings and teaching it, but it's not going to be a consistently learning model because, again, we're packaging this up as almost like a framework that other people can take and extend. You see that with a lot of these collabs and other notebooks where you can take your images and adjust them. And again, there've been some fantastic community work around this to have different models for different things there. So again, this isn't a full end-to-end service. This is just that core super duper brain in a jar in the middle. And you get to basically talk directly to the brain here.
So we fine tune it using CFG scales or steps.
Yeah, it's not fine tuning. It's more kind of giving it different instructions. So what will happen is that when this gets integrated into other platforms, they will have that feedback loop of better images, then create version 1.1 of their own version of this model and 1.2 and 1.3. Whereas this model, like, you can come back in a year and give it the same input with these CFG things, and you'll get the same output. Well, slightly different, but almost the same. Slightly different is because there are some randomized elements in this. But you can have that fine-tuned control where you know the output will be the same later on because the underlying model doesn't change. The brain stays the same.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for answering my question.
So we're exploring the AI brain. That's what you're all doing. Latent explorers. Okay, who's next?
We're all latent space people. Okay, great. So let's bring up our next question. So I like this this username here is Yes. Welcome, Yes.
Hi, thanks a lot. Everything looks great. I've got one question. Is there any future you see where you can prompt or even train a personalized taste? Because from what I heard, I guess you cultivated a democratic good taste, or at least something less broken through democracy. And DALI looks very much like Google image search, and democracy also muddles it a bit to mediocrity. And I think an artist name really helps, but it's still a very fixed style, not my taste. So I wonder, is there any way for a subtle taste hint prompt or something
No,
to engineer
100%.
this?
We've made this model super customizable and available to kind of consumers. So I think that it will be in the reach of everyone to create their own custom styles and models and fine tune it to their own needs. As well, one of the things we're doing is that we're building data sets around the world because data sets are not representative, right? Most of the internet is very white and Western, but we're going to be creating different models for different cultures and other things that you can mix and match to have your own personality on top of that as well. Because right now you're taking this generalized model and you're trying to do that. It'll be more and more customizable as things go forward, and there'll be more and more models that you can use as part of your toolkit.
Super cool, thank you. may I ask one more question? How do you finance all of this, or is it so cheap to run because it's so
It
small?
is not cheap. More details on that.
All right, thanks.
More details on that later.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so our next question is going to come from our user member named Divine Lemon. I like that. Divine Lemon, welcome. You're on the stage.
Hey, Lemon, what's up?
Do you have
Oh,
any
go
upscale recommendations that I should use for this current model?
For the upscalers, I think that we'll be hopefully releasing our own upscaler soon. But probably the best ones that you can have in the moment are real ESR GAN. Topaz Gigapixels had a really good upgrade there. And the Tencent Arc upgrade, upscaler, which does the face correction as well, has an upscale feature built into it. That's actually pretty decent. So I think if we create a little community resource around upscalers and the ones that you can have there, I think that would be really useful. So one of the team will do that, or someone can put it together themselves. But those are the ones that I think are the best at the moment. But like I said, we are going to be sometime soon releasing a next generation of upscalers that are even better, hopefully. Touch wood.
Excellent. Great question. Thank you. Okay, our next question is from Life, the Memetic Man, the fan. Welcome to the stage.
Hello.
Hello.
One question I had
Hi.
is,
Could you speak up? I'm sorry, we can't hear you that well. Could you get a little closer to the mic?
is this better?
Yep.
Is there planned to be a web interface in the future at all, hosted by you guys at Stability?
We've got some plans there, yes. So, again, we want to increase the accessibility, and there's some really cool interfaces and other things, both from the team and our partners as well. So you can see that one from Gene with the in-painting as an example. It's a
Yeah.
big plan.
Okay. That's all the questions I had. Thanks.
I think
Excellent. Great
say
question.
the big long-term plan, we're going to make the holodeck. We're going to make it so you can create anything you can imagine.
And it's going to be amazing. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Everything we're building are tools that are scaffolding to the things we're building in the future. So this is not the end at all, folks. This is just the beginning. So Marcadius, you are next in the list. Join us on stage. How are you?
Hello. I just wanted to know. Obviously, you're not making any promises, but in like the future, who knows what's going to happen, right? But what I wanted to know is, with the direction you're taking this for text to image and creating this framework, is there any interest in doing so for text to video?
Yeah, we're actively working on text to nerf, text to audio, which will be sooner than you might expect, and video, both kind of short form, and then if you look at the Woods paper and some other things, longer form as well. Because we're actually fully multimodal. We have language models, image models, we've got protein folding models, and all sorts of things. And so integrating them all together, yeah, full text to video is in the works.
That is awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. There's some very interesting data sets around that, I have to say. I know that we haven't been that kind of open here, other than what you can see of the communities that we support, like Eluther, Lion, OpenBioML, and a number of others. But we will be moving more and more open as we kind of go forward, starting with the announcement of what stability actually is. Part of that was literally because we just had our heads down, and it was stealth by just busyness. The other part of it is that we just wanted to deliver something that shows that a community-led approach can outperform even the biggest companies. And I think with Stable Diffusion, it's the first example of that, right? There are some excellent coders and great people in all of these places, and we collaborate and work with them. But again, we really want to make this technology available for humanity to accelerate it and then achieve its potential. I think open source and open access is the only way you can do that. And video has to be part of that as well, because it needs to be that full multimedia modality that we have.
Yeah, I definitely support the open source movement as well. Thank you for answering my question. Yep.
Yeah, great question. Text to video is very much on my mind all day, all night. So our next person in the queue here is Jimmy Foe. Yeah, so you're up here. Welcome to the stage. Hey, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. I just had
I think my question was really kind of answered a bit earlier. I'm a graphic designer, so I was trying to think of different applications I could use this tool in, whether to help create content for different clients with different styles. And it seems like the ability to tweak the brain yourself without affecting anyone else's. It seems like that would work, and I would just have to train it almost for the different styles for those different clients. Does that sound right?
I mean, you can create customized ones, but these are generalized architectures. You know, when you get snapped on and you put a mustache in yourself or a sombrero, that's a very specialized AI model that's only good for sombreros. Whereas this can literally do anything, especially as it advances and we embed text models and some of the next generation stuff we're doing. It's one little tiny file of X gigabytes TBD that can do just about anything. But if you really want to have it just for that client and have more restricted, then yeah, you customize it and you fine tune it on your own data, right? Because you don't want them doing everything. You want them having a more restricted thing. And again, well, it's like DALL-E 2, right? Like you can't do everything. They've removed a whole bunch of stuff because of the kind of client, right? And they don't want you doing everything. So they've taken a very powerful model and they've reduced it. And that's fine. You know, it's fine. It's their prerogative and they're delivering a valuable service and it's amazing technology and the people there are great, right? But with this, you have the option that you can use these hosted services or you cannot. So as an example of that, you know, the beta that you guys will be trying right now, we've put in a bunch of filters, right? To stop it from going too crazy with like evil stuff and really unpleasant stuff that your mum or a kid would feel really upsetting because there's a whole range of people on here. The fact that we're releasing open source means that you'll have another option, but you know, sometimes you do need to take this big brain and turn it into a more targeted brain for a certain purpose. In this case, exploring. For your case, as a designer, you will have very specified versions if you allow any client access to it, because you know clients break stuff, right? Yeah. And also, I think the other part of this is that as a designer, you'll be using this as part of the process. It will not be the process, right? So you've already seen some of the technology that's being built by people in our team, making it into Adobe Photoshop neural filters and things like that, you know? That's just kind of models there. And there'll be more and more of those. So these models, as they go open source, will be integrated into all your favorite workflows and really blur that line between human and computer. So you can be even more effective.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you. That answers it. I was imagining, even if not getting a final product out of it, I know for certain smaller clients with smaller budgets, even just photography, they're looking for not stock, but usually that's all they can afford. And I kind of see this as a potential second path as a supplement in that case.
I'll jump in here and say yes, absolutely. That's part of the work that I've been exploring in my research in the past month is looking at how can we use these generative tools to create production design elements and art direction elements in ways that we can do it really cheaply so that we can fail more quickly. That's part of this tool as a design tool, and I heard another artist say that, so I'm quoting another artist there who I agree with. I think that what AI does is it accelerates our ability to see the good ideas and sort of sift through what we're trying to communicate when we're doing design work. And I think when it's personal or creative or a little bit more experimental, that's a different approach and workflow. And I love that this tool can move in both directions. So yeah, we're definitely thinking about how does it serve the design process. Yeah.
Well, thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, next up we have Jeff Jag. Welcome to the stage, Jeff. How are you?
Hey, welcome. Thanks for having me here. I was super excited when I got in the beta because I'm an AI aficionado. So here to explore and play. I am interested in use cases where it goes above and beyond and outside of the traditional kind of ideas of what we do with Midjourney and stuff like that. And so things like initialization images, combining images and in painting, super excited for those. So are those features going to be straight out of the box right away, or are they coming soon?
So like I said, the focus here is the model itself that will be integrated and extended in a million different ways. So like we will have our own experiments and interfaces and other things where we try to push the boundaries and create reference implementations for other people. There's a lot of stuff. I don't know. Am I allowed to talk about it, Bill? I'm not sure. I think we're going to do a grand reveal.
I mean, I don't know. I think we're going to have to ask the CEO. Should we check with the CEO if we can talk about it? I think we should wait. But I think yeah, we'll just
We're going to release more and more stuff about what we do as we head into release and as we expand out the beta, right? Because it's super exciting stuff. But we're trying to create the benchmarks and we facilitate other people to do that. Like Midjourney, like David really wanted to create the first experience of humans and this new generation AI, and I think he's done that in a fantastic way. And he wanted to be this community thing, so he's focused on Discord. Our focus is kind of the whole world and making it so people can really understand this and releasing these things as building blocks that can be combined and accessed and kind of other things, and really pushing the frontiers of that, not just for ourselves, but the whole ecosystem. So we've been supporting like just about every single company entity in this ecosystem and releasing things like the collabs for that reason, to just kind of stoke it. I think what everyone should be thinking about is what new experiences can we do that's above and beyond when we have this amazing tech that does blur human and computer boundaries, right? Like in painting and in images, I think it's just the start. Once you really pipeline this stuff, it's like we're talking to, certain game engines about texturing, right, dynamically, and then you can do emotion and you can do other stuff. And then when you go multimodal and you introduce audio and video and other things, then it gets super interesting. And we'll do some separate talks and presentations about that as well, because we want to encourage more people to really understand what's going on in the third.
Awesome. Yeah. So in this current phase, basically, we're looking at kind of we're testing everything. We're going to push it and make sure that it does what it needs to do, and push it along so that it can be stress tested for larger scales, is what I'm understanding. And then work towards implementing kind of product sort of features like ease of use and UI, UX sort of things that kind of will take it a little bit further, and that comes later on, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so basically there's three phases: bot, website, and then with the website, model release as well. What you're doing now on the bot is the bot will get bigger and bigger and bigger very quickly, I hope. Again, I know a lot of you are impatient to kind of be using it, but it's going to be a case of really pushing the limits of this model that literally just finished cooking yesterday night, like, this morning, effectively, right? And so we want to really see what people come up with and kind of spread the good word out there that this has come in and get people excited about it, because it will be an open source release. We have committed to that, it might be, so I think this is the model. The next phase is the website, and the website is all about interfaces and interface exploration with a bunch of amazing partners and really pushing the boundaries of what's possible, that hopefully other people will take and integrate into their own products and their own workflows and other things as well. Again, we're not trying to be the one entity to rule them all, we're trying to really facilitate the ecosystem as we have already, because our development team is behind just about every major model that drives the whole AI art and design interface, etc. out there. So, led by Catherine Krauss and Rivers Have Wings, many of you know her, some of the other amazing developers in this space. We're really trying to come together to accelerate this more. And I think we've seen that with this model and then the other ones that are coming down the pipeline.
Cool. Sorry, one last question, if I could take it into the realm of rights usage. I know that you mentioned in the announcement that it was all public domain for the time being, and that you're really interested in the open source movement, and I'm all for that. As an artist who wants to kind of play through this thing where I kind of start playing, and then I start going more experimental and trying to like fine tune it, and then I get into this mindset of like, what can I do with this? And I'm an artist, and I put out a lot of NFTs and work in that realm as well. And so I get into like production thoughts and like, how can I make something that's really cool and kind of make an artistic statement that's, my voice and vision. And so thinking along those lines, I definitely want to be able to use resources that can be copyrighted at some point, and use models that are, not going to be sampling directly from images, so that people come at me and be like, you just took that, blah, blah, blah. So, there's things that are blurring those lines right now because of the things looking, like you said, very much like image search. And so yeah, I guess my question is, in terms of the copyright usage, if there's going to be something from you guys, or if it's kind of just up to us and sort of like using it on our own private resources to create images that we would then own.
Yeah, so I think, for the purpose of this bot, the output is public domain, and we've had that for the alpha testing. But for example, Claire Silver, NFT artist that many of you know, who is a big supporter and part of, in some ways, of Stability, in her recent drop, used the outputs that were public domain to composite some of the amazing things that she did there. So I think kind of on that side of things, you can take public domain and adjust it. In terms of copyright and the output of memorization is what it's called, when you can get an image out of there. I think, Bill, was it you that was talking to a recent celebrity who said that she could spot the 3 images that contributed to the image that she was made of? Or maybe it was Shadow.
I think it was Shadow. Yeah, Shadow talks to all the celebrities. If you're a celebrity, talk to Shadow.
Yeah, that is our celebrity liaison. These are kind of composites, but they don't memorize. It's very difficult for it to actually emerge an image that's memorized. And even so, the dataset that we train on Lion is kind of this big public dataset. Legislation varies around the world, and we will be pushing to adjust it. So in the UK, for example, where I'm based, we actually adjusted the legislation so that web scraping can be used for academic and commercial purposes. So that was June 29th piece of consultation that just came out. Other geographies, it's different, but this is a brand new, uncertain area, so we're not quite sure. So I think transformation is the best way if you are all worried about using copyrighted content, because again, it varies from geography to geography, but we will do our best to be the big voice in standardizing this across the world to enable.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to follow this very closely. I'll be active in the community, so thank you so much and appreciate you.
Cheers.
Awesome. Welcome. Thank you.
All right. Who's next? I think we'll do another 5-10 minutes.
Okay, so 2 more questions. 2 more questions. I'm going to just kind of scroll down the list and see if I can pick some random folks here. What do we got? Wingman. I like Wingman. That's interesting. Oh, wait, Wingman disappeared. Okay. Oh no, there's Wingman. Great, Wingman, come up to the stage.
Awesome. Can't believe I got a chance to speak. Can you hear me?
Are you in a thunderstorm? What's happening?
Well, I'm
flying.
at
That's
a hotel. I'm on the balcony and it's pretty windy. Let me move to where there's less wind.
You're good. You're good.
All right,
You're good. You're good.
better now? Hello?
You're good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So, a couple questions. Emad, is that how you say it?
fine.
All right, well, either way, I saw a post on Twitter of this guy, Gene Kogan, and you posted a link in the server. It's the collage tool for Stable Diffusion. And I just want to ask, is this an official Stable Diffusion partnership you have going on here, or is this just like a third-party thing he's developing? And if it is a third-party thing, do you have plans to make one of your own?
So basically, Stability is the main supporter of Abraham AI, and Gene's on our advisory board. So we work super closely together. He's a fantastic guy. We have a lot of partnerships all over the place. Stability is an organization that's monolithic. We work with loads of partners to build loads of things that we brought together. So we have lots of plans, but collaboration is kind of, again, trying to be the Adobe of this entire world. That's our approach. There'll be more on that in the future. We are offering things to make it easier, like APIs and other stuff. But again, we just want to see the whole sector grow and have maybe multiple people doing the same thing so they can explore different iterations of them.
Super cool. Thanks for the answer.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to move you to the audience and see one more. So we can get one more question here? 1 or 2 more? How many do you have time for?
Let's do 2 more. Actually, yeah, I've got to go.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Joey, come on up and chat with us here, Joey.
Yeah, feel free to ask questions in the Discord as well, of course. I think we'll try to be active. We really want to build the community here, so you can really push our models to their limits. Hey, Joey.
Hello, folks. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, you're here. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to speak and to ask the question. It's awesome what you are doing, guys. And what I'm interested in is about the continuity attribute of this AI in the terms of how to describe it. A simple way is imagine a comic book, right? So you have the bunch of characters, the environments around. And stuff like that. So is it possible, or would it be eventually possible to command the AI artist effectively to create different point of views, different compositions or possible postures of the same characters or different views of the same environments, like imagine a building, from different angles, or possible like different arrangements of stuff in the similar environments, and like money this way.
No, 100%. I mean, again, what this is doing is taking your words and turning it into images, right? And that's just information in and information out. So you can use these models and then adjustments to these models to kind of do all those things. And I think that's the future of kind of creativity. Actually, I think, one of the things I say is that when we release this, we will make the world a happier, more creative, communicative, and slightly weirder place. And not many people can say that because we'll be unlocking the ability for people to do exactly what you've said, just adjust things like in the future, as it were. Also, one of our plans is in the next 3 years, we want to eliminate the bane of PowerPoint. So we're going to make it so that you can say everything you want for a presentation. It'll be beautiful, and then you just adjust it just like that. Because PowerPoint is the worst thing in the world, close to it. And so I think that's an evolution of what you're saying, Joey. But the tools for designers and non-designers to become designers will become even more powerful because you can take that natural language and change it into intent that can then adjust it because it understands what's there. So I think in painting is one of the first examples of that, where you can replace a duck with a goose, and it just makes everything else smooth because it understands context. And that's an amazing thing because we're mimicking the human brain in doing that. So yeah, I think you're going to see an explosion in creativity of these tools in the next few years just to enable that. And again, that's one of the reasons we're releasing this open so people can take it, experiment, no permission needed. Away you go.
Awesome. So effectively, you can then use something like a storyboard and then say like on this guy on the left, like place there the character that I named, like I don't know, Alex. On the right side where the picture is just storyboarded, there will be Jessica. And then they are looking on each other and they have these clothes. Alex has and it will like be generated.
Yeah, you can
I
do.
imagine it's
You can do narrative persistence around kind of all these things. So you can look at our friends at novelai.net. So we work very closely with them. They've been helping us kind of get this all together. You can create persistent story worlds and things like that that you can share with people with these different characteristics. Previously, one of my things was I was one of the larger video game investors in the world. And so games have always been a very interesting thing to me and stories around that. In fact, my email is actually story oriented. And this persistence that you have is going to be made by taking this as one part of an entire process, right? And this entire kind of universe that we have. So people talk about this whole metaverse thing and all of this stuff. No one really thinks about it properly, except for, Facebook taking 47.5% of everything and they got rid of legs and genitals, which is kind of weird. Let's face it. What it really is kind of cool to enable you to have these rich experiences and persistence, right? To be able to say that character looks like that and have these assets and building blocks you can bring together seamlessly. And this is why we say this holodeck Ready Player One experience, microtransactions and surly teenagers or whatever, right? That's what we want to create. Give people the ability to do exactly what you said, Joey, right? Across a range of modalities. And that way they can really express themselves. And that is amazing, I think, if we can make that happen, because it will literally make the world a better place.
Totally agree, and that's as you are describing it, it's totally amazing. It's like creating some of the arts, obviously by a human artist, is like a very time-consuming effort, and then like totally appreciate and my respect like to all the artists in the world. And this is, I believe, not taking like their job or something, but it is making something that was previously seamlessly impossible or very very expensive in the terms of like spending the human time on creating a tremendous amount of an art that can be used in some of the creations that currently are merely either very expensive and affordable by like large companies or something that they can pay a lot of like a group of a huge group of artists that are then able to create it or like this brings it to more audience, more people, and more possibilities create like greater and larger things that like previously were not that reachable or feasible. So
Yeah.
very very great, and thank you very much for that.
It's my pleasure. And I think this is why we have to make it open and accessible, right? Because like, is it really art if you can't use it for protest, if you can't use it to communicate? Like, not only are we removing the creative constipation of the human.
sure that it's visible, and we want to hear from you.
Yeah, I think
and
chuck it in stage chat, right? Just put Q and then your question, and then we're going to be building facts and things like that. The team will be engaging, the community will grow, and some of you will grow into community moderators and helpers and kind of things like that. So yeah, don't worry about your questions not being answered unless it's that whole we're coming at a stealth type thing, where some of the things unfortunately we cannot answer at the moment until we've done it properly.
Excellent. Okay, so let's see. I've got okay. Somebody named Joe. All right, I'm going to bring Joe up here. Mystery guitar man. Okay, welcome to the stage, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hello, how's it going, everyone? All right. I feel bad asking a question because I've been in the tester group here. Like I have a little, but I have a little story and then a giant, massive question. First of all, thank you so much for giving me a job. Like literally, I was talking to some producers about my next movie. Right, I'm a recovering YouTuber now. I used to have a channel called Mystery Guitar Man. Now I'm a filmmaker. I make movies, and I have to convince them that I know what the heck I'm talking about, and that I know visually what the movie's going to look like. So I was able to do it. I was sent the script 3 days later. I was supposed to have an initial conversation with the producers. And they were blown away. They were like, "What? How did you get all of this concept art?" I was like, I made it. I had a friend, between Midjourney and DALL-E 2, and then the very last few hours before the meeting, I got into Stable Diffusion, and they were blown away. And what was amazing is that these were producers. I shared my screen with them, and they were like, "Okay, can it be a little bit more like this or a little bit more like that?" I'm like, "No, it's not going to look good. Watch." And we were working collaboratively. Like these producers whose job it is to just make the safest, most boring stuff that you can that's just going to make enough money. We're saying like, okay, what happens if you add like stratospheric octopus to the spaceship? Like this is not something that you would ever imagine that would come out of a producer's mouth in Hollywood. So like, thank you. I'm convinced that this technology is, short term, medium term, but for sure, like it is going to be so helpful, so amazing, because I'm not gonna, Bill, you said something about like, not like getting rid of concept artists, but not wasting their time with weird things. So amazing work. I'm so impressed. I am flabbergasted. My wife is sick and tired of me talking about this. Everyone is sick and tired of me talking about this. But my big question is this. You talked about the holodeck, right? Eventually, we're going to get a holodeck. I'm excited. If I could be in the beta tester group for the holodeck, I'm in. I'll give you my email. But after that, what does humanity look like? When computers are better at everything than us, like what is the future? What's after a holodeck? What like when we don't know what the computers are going to be doing, they're going to be coding themselves, and they're going to be getting better by themselves, and they're going to learn by themselves. You can take that as a negative or as a positive, right? We're kind of this is the very beginning of the fork on the road, right? History books are going to talk about these moments like, oh, they started with text to image, and then they went text to the musical score, text to film, and then every movie was made automatically. Like, are artists going to be gone eventually, or is humanity going to be gone eventually? Are we all going to ship a Theseus, replace ourselves by these computers? How's it going to work? What do you think?
Yeah, Joe, pleasure kind of having you on. I'm glad that you're kind of one of the beta testers, alpha testers, as it were. I think that the question you asked is an excellent one. The world is going to change. The world's going to change, very soon when we release this model. It's going to change as we release more models because this AI has reached that human level. I think it started to change a few years ago, right? One of the interesting things, some of you will put the post to it. There's something called AlphaGo by DeepMind. Everyone knows that Garry Kasparov was beaten by Deep Blue on chess because it could calculate all the moves and it was too much for his mind, right? So just brute force beat him. He was the best chess player in the world, wiped him out because it was that powerful. no one thought it would ever happen for Go, Chinese checkers, because there was too many moves. And there was a guy called Lisa Doll who was ninth Dan, like super Go player, and everyone else was sixth. So he was so far beyond everyone else. And then DeepMind made a different type of AI, which is one of the types of AI that one of our labs uses, that could dream and play against itself. And it never saw anyone play a game, but it learned principles. It sounds really creepy, doesn't it? The documentary is well worth watching. And it beat him. It beat him like 8 times out of 9. And everyone was like, holy crap, how did that happen? But you know what happened after that? He became even better. Became even better at Go because he played with it. And then now the entire level of professional Go has gone up because we've used these to explore new ways of thinking and new ways of interacting. This is what we've seen with a lot of artists. They've been exploring these latent spaces and they've been coming up with brand new things. You know, the octopus example that you kind of gave, or the space octopus, kind of wherever it was. It's like you can think and you can create so fast that iteration loop is crazy. As the computers go and kind of these AIs go, I think there are two types of AI, right? One is the corporatized AI. There's the big tech AI, and because these things resonate, they can sell us even more ads. They can make us the product because it's free. The other thing is what a number of the questioners asked earlier, which is AI that is for us, AI that is customized by us and is ours and works with us to help us achieve our potential, help us be able to communicate better, help us access the things that we need. You know, this is why, like, one of the things we're doing is we're creating AIs in emerging market countries and different cultures and other things, because we want everyone to achieve their potential, not just businesses in the West and things like that. We want people to be able to communicate kind of across areas. And we can break down a lot of these barriers to have an open communication with everyone and be able to tell each other stories because we're a story based race. Or we can go and be told the stories that we should listen to by increasingly convincing artificial intelligences that tell us we must think one way. And we're seeing this in certain states that are adopting this at a national level with scoring systems and all sorts of other things, and becoming increasingly sophisticated in the ways that they tell you what to think. So I think we've actually had a crucial juncture of almost freedom and some of these dystopian futures that we've seen because these AIs are so powerful now. And they can either work with us and be customized for us, or they can customize us, as they have been for so many years, these slow, dumb AIs at other large organizations. You know, this is why we set up Stability AI and we're building these communities, because we believe that it should be for us, not customizing us, as it were. So I think it's going to be super interesting times. I think that hopefully it will lead to, you know, the abundance Star Trek type universe. You know, maybe with some aliens, maybe not, as opposed to kind of the other side of things, which is some of these dystopian futures where we just consume. You know, like we will end up fat, like in Wall-E or something like that, and the robots aren't that cute because they're probably like poking us with laser turrets.
That's amazing. I mean, thank you so much. You're right. Like, whenever I'm just an eternal optimist, so when people talk about what the future is, you know, I always go down the path of we're gonna make it into Star Trek because if the Terminator comes around, because that's an AI that was created by whomever, we're gonna make some better AI that's gonna beat that guy. You know, and I think that it's tools like this where you can give people the opportunity to do whatever they want with the tool and to kind of craft it into ways that you weren't thinking of, that half of the developers weren't thinking of. But you know what? Like, I broke it in just this way or just in that way. And then that gives you an idea. And it's kind of like the humans are working with the computers and the computers working with the humans. And it just keeps becoming this huge snowball, right? No wonder that 6 days ago in AI world was just an eternity. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Like, I don't think I'm ever gonna end up like with a blank image in my mind, like trembling the day before we're supposed to shoot, like, oh God, I don't know what this is gonna look like. I'll just stay up all night instead and be working on Stable Diffusion.
Get some rest before you shoot. But that's great. That's the best thing I've heard, is that you're never going to have to worry about not being clear about a shot in a film again. And I agree with you as a filmmaker and as a film teacher. Like, this tool for folks who want to make films, everyone who wants to make a film, like, this is a whole nother level. Like it's a whole nother level, I think, of creativity. So thanks,
Yeah, I
Joe.
mean,
Great question.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to make film, you're just trying to communicate, right? You're trying to tell the stories. So we'll let people tell the stories better. There's
I
one more
think
thing
so. Yeah. Yeah.
that
Go
made
ahead.
me realize. So I have aphantasia, so I can't actually see anything in my head, and a couple of percent of the population is like that. So this has actually allowed me to see what I've been feeling in my head, and isn't that amazing? You know, the ability that you can create anything you can imagine or feel, and everyone sees the world in different ways, and then you can share it, right? I think that's the power that we're kind of bringing to everyone, and I think it is everyone kind of working on it. So I'm kind of going to wrap up now. I think you guys have seen the bot starting to emerge into the servers. It emerged into all the channels at once, and now it's being put into the other channels. And again, you'll be added when it's kind of your group's turn to kind of do it. And please do behave. You know, don't be douchey. You know, don't try to push the boundaries because you get kicked, and then who knows when you get back in. You know, what we're trying to do is super cool. And again, read the things. If you don't like us, then you obviously like big tech because we're trying to do something proper for humanity, and we kind of mean that. So I think that you know I want to wrap up with that, and I want to thank you all for taking the time. 1,000 of you have listened to me blather on, and you know Bill give very succinctly kind of what you should do. I hope you really enjoy it, and please do be like voluminous in your feedback. You know, good things, bad things you've noticed about this model, because we will take your feedback and we'll build better models, and they'll be available to you. And you know, then we'll be able to really push things on, and we will build this community. Oh, that's the final thing. I should mention that in the building of this, there were at least a couple of hundred people involved in the various parts of it over the last year. You know, putting it all together, and they range from 16-year-old kind of people who were building the captioning models for labeling classifiers to 60-year-olds. You know, who were doing machine learning operations and helping build giant clusters that work smoothly. I think the way that we will win this is by a community, and it takes all sorts, not just computer programmers, not just creatives, not just kind of other people. You kind of hear and you can contribute. Everyone here on this call can contribute if you want to, and I hope you do. So again, thanks everyone. I hope you enjoy it. Like I said, you're going to see it emerge, and then you'll be added once it is the case. My apologies that it wasn't quite on time, but again, you know, we're doing the best we can, and you know that we're working around the clock to deliver this because we have created something that is better than massively well-funded companies through the power of community and mission and hard work. And I'm super proud of the devs. I'd like to thank them from the bottom of my heart for that. All right. Cheers, everyone.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice time playing with the bot. We're going to close the stage now. So see you soon. Share your creations on Twitter and Instagram with the hashtag Stable Diffusion and make beautiful things.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Ciao.
I see those colonial pen ads all the time. Would I qualify for their life insurance? Well, you have to be over 50. Well, I'll never tell. But I think I will give them a call.
Me too. I'm gonna give them a call. Hi, I'm Jonathan Lawson. It happens. People put off getting life insurance till it's too late. Don't wait another day to call about this guaranteed acceptance life insurance. Coverage options start at just $9.95. And you never have to wonder, will my rate go up? Oh, no. The rate is 440. 440.